Hey, everybody, and welcome to the live Prepper Talk Radio weekly live stream. We are Scott and Shane here. We are excited to have you guys on board, and we've got a bunch of people already commenting in the live feed. Welcome to the show, everybody. Tonight, we're going to have a little bit of fun talking about building your prepper dream team. And do we need to make rules like
too
fan
complicated.
fiction, or do we want to just go crazy with it? I mean,
yeah, wherever you want to go with it. I already know where I'm going to go with this, but I'm interested in where you think you're going with your prepper team here. So,
well, yeah, we can have some fun with this, but we could also go get really really good content detail wise of what kinds of things to look for. So let's do a little bit of both and see kind of where things go. But we'll get some interaction with the crowd that's in the live stream. Let us know your thoughts as well. But the idea that kind of hit me as this topic kind of came on board was, yeah, it'd be nice to be able to pull some pop culture references and say, oh yeah, if I was building the ideal dream team, these are the 6 people that I would want, right?
mm-hmm.
I could be like, all right, SEAL Team 6. Okay, we're done, right? No. But
yeah.
Then you could be like, well, no, I will take.
I'll take Wolverine on my side.
Wolverine, right? I'll take the Hulk for security. I'll take,
See, that's where it gets a little ridiculous. It just.
Right.
I mean, obviously, we're all about having fun. Making prepping fun, and opening your minds and expanding your thinking. And so that's where I kind of come from today. I have my way of thinking. You have your way of thinking. You have your perspective. I'd like to see your how perceptive you are. And that's kind of, part of my group as well, my group requirements. Yeah, I just want to hear what everybody else says of how they would organize or how they have organized their team, their group, whatever you want to call it. Team is an easy word to use. I think,
Yeah.
For me, it's my family, and literally it's my family. It's a team. We can call ourselves a team, but I have 4 brothers. I got 2 sisters. So I got 2 brothers-in-law. I got a son-in-law. I got another cousin. I got, some nephews. It's family, and that's the way I see it. I would love to see the way the rest of you see it. Like Mike said, me, myself, and I. And that's the way I feel most of the time. It's me, myself, and I, And I'm prepared to go that route, but I don't want to.
So that's kind of really the route I want to go to, actually. So the other part was just to get the listens. This is what we really need. And Utah Mike says it right. I think start with blue collar workers. So I have 5 criteria that I'll turn my hand so you can see all 5 fingers. I'm like 5 criteria. It's over there. 5 criteria that I look for in my dream team. Now, my dream team is really, it's my family and really close associates. Right. But it's one of those things, and I really should say 6 criteria, but one of the number one requirements, I call it swivel head. And swivel head to me is people who are aware of what's going on in the world, but also what's going on around them at all times. There's this thing that's been going on. I don't know if you watched the news over the last 5 weeks. That people are just walking up and just punching random strangers, and it's part of like gang initiations. It's been going on for years, but it's kind of resurfaced, and just like challenges amongst stupid friends, right? People, swivel heads won't get punched. They make themselves not a target because people who are looking for victims look for people who are victim-minded, who aren't paying attention, who aren't aware, who can't defend themselves. So a swivel head is someone who is aware, can defend themselves. They're relatively fit. Preferably they can kick and they can stretch and they can kick even if they're 50
or 60
or 60, right? They can move around. And that's what I call a swivel head. They meet the criteria of aware of the world, aware of their surroundings. They can escape and evade, or they can fight back if they need to. Right? That is one of my top criteria. Number 2, I look at their knowledge. What do they know about? Are they trying to increase in knowledge? Or are they happy and content just decreasing? Do they just go home and Netflix and chill? Or are they trying to build something and do something?
Or video game and chill?
right? Video game and chill. Like if they're not expanding their knowledge and wisdom, that eliminates them from criteria. Because that then goes into skills and competencies, which is my third criteria. Third criteria being, what can I do? What can I build? Do I know how to filter water? That's knowledge. But then can I filter water? That's a skill. Do I know how to cook? And can I cook? Right? And Bodhi, thank you. This is perfect. Keep your heads out of your phones. Everybody's walking around zombies already. That's the scary thing about our current situation in life. Everybody is just content being a fool, walking around, not paying attention to the world. Thank you, Bodhi, for sharing that with us, because that's what more people need to stop doing, is just being distracted. Okay, then number 3 was skills. Number 4, attitude. Am I paranoid, doomsday, everything's the worst possible scenario right now mindset? Or are they people who are like, crap, something bad could happen. Let's better reinforce ourselves now. And oh crap, my car broke down. I guess I better go fix it, versus it's the end of the world. My car broke down. Right. I want someone with a positive attitude, a can-do attitude, people who are looking for solutions. They're solution oriented, but they're positive thinking or forward focused. And then obviously the last one is profession. What do they do? Is what they do something that has transferable skills, or are they a leech on society? And I think that's harder to really detail down into, like, okay, what does that really mean? But like, dude, if someone's an electrician, I'm going to be friends with them. And I'm going to try to see if they're worthy of being on the dream team. If someone's a plumber, I'll be friends with them. Right. If someone's military or former military, dude, they've got a ton of skills and a ton of knowledge, and a lot of times fantastic attitude, and really can have a interesting sense of humor. Some of them, some semi-dark, right? But at least they're going to work hard and work together. And that's what I want to find, is like people that meet, for me, those 5 criteria. Now, thankfully, my family has a lot of those. Some of those are things that we've got to train on.
Mm-hmm.
But those are the criteria that I'm looking for off the bat. Like, that's my first 5. If they don't meet those first 5, then I don't even go any further with them. If they don't meet those 5, I don't even introduce them to the fact that I'm a prepper.
Yeah. Yeah. I've got a fairly good list myself, but it comes down to one that's, I think, most important for me, that, like you say, I won't even consider anybody. I don't want anybody at my back, who are covering my back, that I don't trust. Right. Trust is, for me, is number one. Obviously, having high moral values is I think, is really part of that. But trust in their decisions in every way. And because I know my family, I trust them. I couldn't just bring someone in from the prepping world that maybe I knew online or chatted with or whatever, into my group. I'm much too protective that way. And, I hear a lot of talk. There's a lot of YouTube videos out there about how to build your own team. What's the word, the terminology they use? There's a number of different words that are used to your MAG, mutual assistance group. I'm not cool with that. I don't think that's a good idea. I mean, for me, I'm speaking about myself. For me, I don't think that's a good idea. Like Mike said, I'd rather be me, myself, and I. And I know, the lone wolf is never a good idea, but I've
dangerous,
always got.
but it's less dangerous than having an enemy amidst you.
Absolutely, it can be far less dangerous. And so, for me, trust is number one. I've got my group. I can teach my brothers, the things that they're in lack of, the things they don't know, maybe how to shoot, how to do certain things. And and also, it's like I mentioned, Scotty, it's about perspective and it's about perception. And I trust all of their perspectives, and I want to hear them all, because we think very differently in many ways. But when it comes down to, we all have the same principles, the same morals. And that's, I think, the most important, is we can work out everything else. We can train together. We can, practice. We can learn things together. But if we don't trust each other, I can't sleep at night. I couldn't sleep at night.
Well, I think one of the coolest things is having known you for as long as I've known you. We've done a lot together,
Mm-hmm.
and we met in the thick of me launching PrepperCon, and that was hard. Like that was financially draining, that was emotionally draining, that was mentally draining. There was so much hard about that, but I met some of the most incredible people, and you're one of those. And what's interesting is I've since met your brothers, well, most of them,
Mm-hmm.
and every one of them is very capable, very intelligent, good attitudes, hardworking, and they'll jump in and help. And
Yeah,
I'm
they
like,
will.
that's such. I have one brother, and he is all of that,
He's
but
awesome.
he's far away.
He's a long ways away. Yeah.
He's a long ways away, and it's frustrating, right? And I'm going to move even farther from him. I don't know what I'm thinking, but like,
We'll see when it happens, Scott. We'll see when it happens.
We'll see. But what's interesting is whoever you have in your life, whether it's blood, or not, they are, if they're good, solid people, they need to be part of your crew, whether they're prepping or not. And what I mean by that is like, you don't have to tell them you're a prepper. You don't have to tell them, here's all the plans. Here's what we're going to do. But they need to be the kind of people that are willing to listen when things go sideways and you can explain next steps.
There's a saying that I have hanging on my bathroom wall. It says, if you want to go fast, go alone. If you want to go far, go together. Right. And that's really survival is not it's not fast. It's going far.
Yeah.
Right. It's
outlasting. It's an endurance.
It's an endurance race. It's exactly. It's not. It's more than a marathon. Some say this is not a 5K. This is a marathon. No, it's much bigger than a marathon is going to be. It's going to be, call it an ultra marathon. It's going to be that and maybe even more. And so, yes, if you want to try and get through it quickly, I don't know if that's even possible going alone. I don't know if that's even possible.
No.
So I would make every provision to go with as many people as you trust as possible. And going can mean a number of different things, right? Actually bugging out like I'm planning on doing, or bugging in, but having those people in your immediate vicinity when it's necessary, when it's needed.
100%. Like having them capable and willing is better than nothing, right? Trustworthy. Sorry, let me correct that. Trustworthy, capable, and willing. Mm-hmm. If you don't have their trust, they don't have yours, it's not going to work out. You can surprise them later that you're a prepper. Because then they'll be like, oh, okay, cool. That's nice to have now, right? You don't have to inform everybody everything. Like we do this. A lot of people think we're crazy because we tell everybody a lot. But we feel that we're guided to do this. We feel like kind of like this is our mission. That God's been like, hey, I've taught you what to do. Now you need to go teach other people and teach them that it's not crazy, that it's not weird, it's not scary, and that they can have greater peace and comfort in life and in the stresses of life and the trials of life by doing these simple things, by learning what we learned from our ancestry, our heritage. It's become something that's easily transferable and teachable to other people. And so we over divulge so that you don't have to.
Yeah. And like Sandy says, I'm glad you don't tell anyone you're a prepper. Honestly, I almost every week I come to this, like, do I want to do this? Do I want to be doing this? And, I was like, what am I doing this for? And I would rather, and I say this all the time, I would rather when the time comes, I'm ready to bug out and then never be seen again. And that's the way I honestly feel. I don't need to be doing this. I'm doing it, like Scott says, because I feel I'm supposed to be doing this. Yeah. If it helps someone out, great. And they hear that saying all the time. If it helps out one person, okay, yeah, I think we've done that. I'm pretty sure we have. Inspired.
We've helped over 40,000 people
with your PrepperCon and such. But
you were just as much a part of that as anyone. We helped over 40,000 people.
But and like Mike, oh, clicked the wrong one here. Like Mike says here, so many want to be chiefs and not so many want to be Indians, management, that's always been the aspiring position to become a manager, management's not what it's cracked up to be. I tell you, I'd rather be an Indian. Leadership. No, exactly. Management is far different from leadership. And I can give you plenty of examples in my life when that's the case. Yeah.
I've got an in-law who's
Sorry,
like,
Mike. I'm so sorry, Mike.
I've got an
Count
in-law
on
who's
that.
he's like, when things go sideways, I'm gonna be so helpful. You guys are gonna need me. And I'm like, why? Name one thing you can bring to the table that we need. Well, I'm a lawyer, and so you're gonna need someone that can help you understand the law. I'm like, if things go sideways, that
There
law's
will be no
gone,
law. There will be no law. Yeah.
right? I'm like, what I want to see is I want to see you start building a garden. Like this is a guy that I love dearly, but I can't count on because he doesn't help anyone and hasn't the entire time I've known him without great reluctance and crybaby and just, oh, I don't want to have to do this. It's not fair, right? That's the kind of person that I'm like, dude, you're not invited. Even though it's family, like you're not invited because you're not doing anything to help the group. You're not doing anything to help others. It's only about you, and you have zero, like going back to my list, zero knowledge and skills that are beneficial in a total apocalyptic scenario.
Well, and if you think about it, of course, you go back to the example of Jesus Christ. He was not a chief. He served.
Mm-hmm.
He served, and that's what a good leader is: someone who serves, who is an Indian, who leads by example and not by management, right? So,
Well, and he delegated.
mm-hmm.
Like so a rabbi in his time, a rabbi was teacher of teachers, right? He was the greatest teacher of all time, hands down. And people would come to him and he'd tell them what to do. He wouldn't tell them how to do it. He'd just tell them what to do. Well, you could do this. And then they'd figure it out. Like go through the whole New Testament. Everything is an example of that. And he always takes what you have. This is one of my favorite things about that I just stumbled upon this and I was like, oh, this is brilliant. He never, like, you could be like, oh, I need this and I need that and I need this and I need that. And you could be praying for all these things. And he could be like, I just need you to go serve. And you go serve and you're like, yeah, but I only have this. And he will take whatever you have and he will magnify it. And it's the most incredible thing. Best example I can tell you for that is he took a couple loaves of bread and 5 fish and fed 5,000. They said, well, how do we feed all these people? And he said, what do you have? So that's how I look at prepping. What do I have? How can he use it? Right? He's my leader. He's who I take commands from and listen to and try to follow all the time. Best prepper in the whole universe. Right? All the universes. He told Moses, build a ship. Moses is like, I've never built a ship. Okay, I'll give you some instructions. Perfect instructions. Perfect. What wood to use, how to do it. Here's the plan. Here's how you go do it. And Moses went and did it. Now, we need to be like Moses and just trust and then go build our stockpile of resources and tools. Go increase our knowledge and go find other like-minded people who share your same beliefs and learn how to trust each other so that when things go sideways, you're in a better situation than if you don't have that trust. And work together. Like, one of the reasons I would take a bullet for Shane is because I know how good of a man Shane is. And because I trust him and I love him as a brother. Because we've gone through some pretty crappy stuff together and I've been able to, like, I've bent your ear probably a million times when I was going through hard times, and you always listen and you never judge me and you always have thoughtful things that are Christ-centered to bring me back around. And so I would happily step in front. Hopefully we never have to. Right? But that's the kind of trust you guys need to start building with your groups. You have to let each other know the trials you're going through so that you can build strength together and involve each other in it. Dude, I went out into the middle of nowhere and helped build this. Wasn't a yurt, it's just a metal steel building. What is it?
Quonset,
that's right. Quonset. And I met some fantastic people in the process of doing that.
And I've said it before. That was one of my favorite days of my entire life. I mean, it really was. It was
It was so
just a
cool.
fantastic day. It was awesome.
It
And
was a
you know,
beautiful
I
day.
yeah, absolutely. And I feel the same way about you, Scott, as well. And Paris too. I mean, Paris.
Yeah.
You know, and you know, and I know that we each have our own plans. You know, that's we each have our own teams, whatever you want to call it.
Yeah.
But we do need to work on plans of how to, and we kind of have a little bit of plan of how to maybe join those teams up together at
Join
some point,
forces.
join forces at some point. Not in terribly important at this point, right?
Yeah.
To go that part, but like you say, you know, and like I started out with, trust is the most important thing. And you know, as we see what's going on in the world, right? And I hate to say it, but I'm going to say it anyway. You know, I'm pretty sure we're already in World War III, and we'll know for sure very shortly, even potentially, you know, by the end of the week, if that. And you know, when people look back to read the history books, they may very well go back to, you know, March of 22, when this all started. But uh, and I mentioned that because, and the word trust as well, because um, this is going to be a lot harder than I think any of us can imagine. You know, kind of like
Oh
I
yeah.
said, an ultra marathon. You know, maybe an ultra marathon on steroids, and we have seen so many examples in the scriptures and all through history that um, those who stand on the defensive are typically justified, right? If they're on the offense, if they attack, it typically doesn't go so well for them, right? And so that's where I think a lot of trust comes in. This is, you know, we are, and I think should be on the defensive. It pretty much, you know, and then we'll be protected, we'll be guided, we'll make it through rather than attacking the attacker, right?
Yeah.
Although there are some caveats to that, there's some exceptions to that, you know, but you know, we can't always say until you're in the exact situation. So I think a team, you know, it has to be a family. Maybe just strike the word team and just call it family. You know, this is our family. I mean, you know, Scott's my brother, Parrish is my brother, and absolutely feel that way about him. And that's, for me, that's the most important thing, and we can work out the rest.
Well, that's the key. Like building that strong bond is the most important part of it, right? Having all the skills, okay, you can figure it out, right? You can learn about it. If you've got the books and if you got someone else that can teach you, and if you got right,
Mhm.
it makes it easier. But if you don't know how, you're gonna have to just learn to live without some things. But not having a team, not having your dream team, your family, that's gonna be hard to survive without.
And having someone in there who does not agree, you know, who could potentially sabotage,
Yeah.
is one of my biggest concerns. Um,
Interestingly, though, you do want someone who disagrees on how to do
no,
things, right?
yes, yeah, absolutely,
You just don't
and
want
I
someone who disagrees with the whole purpose of it all.
no, absolutely. Thanks for clarifying that. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, obviously, there's always disagreements between you, between me, between Paris, with my brothers. We always have disagreements, and it's great because I
Yep.
realize I'm not always right. I'm, you know, usually not right, which is something I think is very essential, especially in a survival situation. You know, you could make a bad. Could it be a absolutely, Mike? I think we are brothers from another mother at
Definitely.
some point. You know, you talked about chieftain Indians. I had chiefs and Indians written down in my notes here. Uh, but when it comes out to my bugging out to my location, you know, we've got some very strict policies we'd have to discuss first.
There you go. Well, I think that's the thing. It's like it's as we get through the first wave of the crappiest of crappy, right? Um, and we start rebuilding. Like what's interesting is those will be people that are left are going to be people that are highly trustworthy,
Mm-hmm.
right? And
Got to
that's the
prove
thing that I look
yourself.
forward
Got
to.
to prove yourself.
Yeah, we'll have proven ourselves through it.
Mm-hmm.
The hard part is proving yourself now before. Um, and it's funny because like you can put all this criteria down and no one's going to measure up to all the criteria.
Exactly.
But you've got to have a few criteria points that if they don't meet at least those, that you can't go any farther.
It's those wolves, in sheep's clothing that can, easily be deceived. I can easily be deceived. I'm not going to
Mhm.
say that, oh, I have perfect intuition and whoever I let into our group, I'm confident about 100% because I know people. No, can't even imagine being able to, make those kind of decisions, especially on short notice, right? If to do it quickly.
Yeah.
No, that I can't see myself doing that.
What's interesting is like as you're looking at people and as you're talking to people, like things to stay away from. And it's hard because like there's con men are called con men because they gain your confidence, right?
Mhm.
Con is short for confidence. So men and women who gain your confidence. But there's like things like a narcissist. It's easy to identify the narcissist because they're extremely self-centered, they're egotistical. You're wrong, they're right. They're always selfish, they're always patronizing and demeaning and demanding and
Mhm.
they're cocky, right? Those are, it's easy to be like, oh, that's that, yeah, stay away from that, right? But the other personalities and the other things that you got to watch out for, they're harder to spot. And so spending a lot of time with people is key. And you need to learn to trust your gut because if you feel like I'm uneasy about this person,
Mhm.
you're done. You don't need to keep trying, right? You just need to be done.
Well, like Sandy says here, you can only kill me once. You only got one chance. You only got one chance at this. You don't want to get it wrong.
Yeah. And as a father, if I'm gone, my whole family's in trouble.
Yeah.
And so that's why I have to have a
Yeah.
team.
Same here.
And for me, it's like important that I have a team of fathers who have the same viewpoints, may have different ideas on how to do things, but have the same goals that match up. And what's interesting is another brother-in-law, he is ideal for my group because he and I are on the same page. And it's what's funny is unfortunately, we're going to have to be the leaders when things go sideways because all the other guys have great knowledge of things that will become useless.
Mm-hmm.
And so just because someone's educated and they maybe have a special title with their new signature profile on their emails, right? It doesn't necessarily make them valuable. Their work ethic, their honesty, those are things that make them valuable. Their ability to work under very stressful situations, valuable, right? Ability to grow food, valuable. Like, what are their hobbies? Like, that's one of my favorite things. I look at people's hobbies, and if someone's hobby is golf, I don't feel like they're ever going to be a good prepper because they can spend 6 hours wandering around somebody else's yard and get nothing accomplished.
It is good for building patience, I think.
It's fun, but if that's all they like, I have a friend.
And
that's
if you can get through 18 holes without getting mad, I like that kind of quality in a person, right?
But it's useless. When am I ever going to use those skills?
Absolutely.
Right? And that's a lot of money to be throwing down the drain. Because I mean, you go golfing, it's what, $50 to $80 minimum now. That's on the cheaper end.
Several hours, a few hours.
You take a whole month and a half off of golf, and you can start buying an AR platform.
Yeah, that's true.
Putting together some pretty good self-defense stuff, putting together a nice little greenhouse, right? I want people who are very thoughtful about how they spend their time and money.
Amen to that.
And so, like my one brother-in-law that he kind of turned his house into a little homestead, a little suburban homestead. It's almost hobby farming, and he's got an incredible garden. He's learned a ton over the last 4 years about gardening, and so he's an extremely valuable resource. He also is handy and can fix a lot of things, right? You're extremely handy and can fix a lot of things. I'm pretty darn handy and can fix a lot of things, right? Those are types of things like people being willing to get in and learn how to fix things and repair things and build things. That'll take you a lot further than any degree that anyone has.
If that's all someone could say at my funeral, I'd be happy. He was handy to have around. I'd be fine with that.
It's funny because all I really want, honestly, is I just want Jesus to show up and be like, okay, guys, I'll take it from here.
Exactly.
Because then it's like, oh,
Can I be,
like,
can
let's
I be on your
go.
right hand side? Of
I know.
course, absolutely. That's where we want to be anyway, right?
Yeah, and then boom. All right,
Right. Let's do this.
let's
Yeah.
go reestablish the Garden of Eden, and obviously wearing clothes because that'd be awkward. But yeah,
Especially at this
let's
point
just,
in time. Yeah.
yeah, man. But dude,
Yeah.
building a team, I think everybody tries to overcomplicate it, and they create all this false
Mhm.
criteria, and then they go out and join groups, and they're
And
like,
get a
oh yeah, we're
background check. You have to have a background check to join our group. You have to have your year's worth of food storage, which is one of my criteria. Just so you know, Mike, to come out to my property, you got to have your year's worth of food storage.
and
Whether
bring
you're
it
my
with you.
brother or not, if you're not your family, you don't have your food storage. You're not. I can't feed you. You're not going to take food out of my kids' mouths, right?
Well,
That's one of the requirements.
what were the requirements to be able to get on the Mayflower and come to the United States
Oh, I have no idea.
before they were even in the United States?
I don't know if I could even Google that.
Like that just popped in my head, and I'm like, you know what? That's a fantastic question. They're not going to take someone who doesn't know how to do anything and bring them to the United States, right? But Mike responded, only 1 year. Well, that's all you have to be able to bring with you. If you've got more, we'll take it.
Yes,
Well, we'll
yes,
take
Mike.
you either way,
Minimum
but
1 year. I am working on 2 years, but as we have mentioned before in other podcasts, I do believe in, I guess, what would we call it, the principle of the barrel of meal that won't waste and the cruise of oil that won't fail.
Yep.
That's where my faith lies at the moment. But as I am able, I mean, I've got a lot of other things to still do. But as I'm able, I will continue to build that beyond 1 year. But for now, yeah, 1 year in a garden. Yeah.
I think that also goes into seeds, right? If you can get some survival seeds, like that right there, even if you don't have a garden right now, that right there, have some food storage and some survival seeds. That's going to put you at a huge advantage when things go sideways. So, guys, make sure you go check out. We have survival garden seeds. I'm going to put the banner up. We've got shoot, it doesn't have the link on here. Paris took it off. We'll have to edit that out. Anyways, check out survival garden seeds. We've got some really cool stuff that we've worked out with them. You can get a special deal by going to survivalgardenseeds.com. Use the code, I think, Prepper Talk, and it'll save you 5%.
Good
So
stuff.
Prepper Talk will save you 5%. Guys, you gotta think of like long term, like how am I going to keep going? Because once your year supply of food is gone, it's gone. It doesn't magically regenerate itself unless Jesus blesses it. Right? That's the only other scenario in the history of the world that I've ever seen anything increase that you're using. Right? Elijah the prophet comes and he goes to the widow and he's like, instead of her making her last meal for her and her son and dying, he's like, feed it to me first. And she does. And then the Lord's like, boom, you won't run out until it can be replenished. And it didn't. They didn't starve. They were fine. It just kept replenishing. I don't know. I wish I could go and see how that worked. Like God, like unfurl the mystery cloak that everything happens behind. I would like to see how you do that.
Yeah. The mysteries of God. Yeah, Sydney asked this question here. I think this is a great question. What are the exceptions to the rule? And in Sydney, I know you grow a lot, you can a lot, and I think if you have a proven process and you've figured it out, that that all you need is maybe 3 months worth of food storage, and you can grow the rest and can the rest you need. I don't know if that's exactly what you're asking, but you're also saying, oh, well, I think, yes, I think there's a good balance between having enough food storage and having enough first aid and enough self-protection items and a good balance of a little bit of everything, and not just only food storage and nothing else. I mean, who am I to say if that's right for you or not, right? But for me, yeah, it definitely has been quite a journey for me to figure out, okay, how do I build my food storage while also building my other preparations? Like as much as I've done with my property, what else I could have? Yeah, I could be at 10 years of food storage right now by now, Mike. But what good would that do me in my home where I have all my eggs in one basket? And if they're compromised, I lose everything, right? So I don't know if that's answered the question there, Sydney.
I'm looking at it a different way. So like she says, lots of first aid or medical knowledge, etc.
Mhm.
Like absolutely. Like there are people that have like crazy amounts of knowledge that maybe they don't garden, maybe they don't have a gun, maybe they don't do all the same things I do, but they're so valuable in their medical understanding and knowledge. Like they can walk into the woods and be like, hey, this is medicinal, this is edible, this you
Mhm.
can make a tincture with that. Like boom, automatically they're in the circle, not necessarily the inner circle, but they're in the circle, right? They're in the community. Like when you're building your large community after the apocalypse and you're trying to reestablish, they're going to be part of the group that survived. And if you can find them now before, you're going to both survive better through if you can work together. And I think that's like key. Like, I don't care if someone can make the most fantastic contracts or can put together the best business plan, right? What I care is, do you have skills that are valuable in survival? Can you rewire an electrical system so that you can now use solar panels to load up a battery and then use the battery to keep the lights on at night, right? Do you know how to do that? Can you do car maintenance? Like there's so many different skill sets that you might want to look at and identify in people that are in your outer circle, right? And maybe eventually they'll become part of your inner circle,
I
because
think,
your dream team is your inner circle, which is primarily
yeah,
going to be your family.
yeah. No, that's good. Important concept. You know, I was thinking about there's a movie, Harrison Ford. I think it's called Mosquito Coast. Is that right? Where he moves his family away from the city, away from civilization, to go live in, I want to say Brazil in the jungles or somewhere, and because he wants to get away from, and I may be misremembering this, but he wants to get away from all the BS in the world. And what he ends up doing, he ends up creating a different civilization where he's at, and he ends up destroying civilization for what he creates. So yeah, I think it's important to have, like Mike says here, have someone who knows how to do backup, has their specialty skills, and know how to do solar and plumbing and electrical and all that. But I think it doesn't also have to be that complicated. I think we can, like I said, look to the past, prepare for the future. The past didn't have solar power, didn't have even electricity. If you look back far enough, or indoor plumbing, right?
Right.
There are different ways to live, which we can still be happy, you can still be comfortable, you can still be healthy, and not have electric lighting. I mean, I love solar. You guys, if you know me, you know I love solar. I love backup energy. I've built my own systems, and I love doing that kind of stuff. And that is part of my goal. But I'm not going to be disappointed if, at least I'm going to try not to be disappointed if I can't provide that for myself, my family, and my location. But
Yeah.
great insights.
I think individually we all need to be doing as much as we can to be as diverse as possible.
Absolutely.
Right. Learning, right, especially right now. You've got the internet. Stop scrolling TikTok and start watching training videos and go to the library. The library card is one of the most valuable things you can have right now, because at the library you can check out books. They have streaming services, they have Audible books that you can download. They have so many things that we're paying for apps to do those things. You can do it for free through them, right? And you can get knowledge and you can learn things. Like right now is the time to be learning everything you can. Go to swap meets, go to garage sales, and find all these books. I have a box of books on how-tos, all these different things in construction and electrical and plumbing and insulation, and I've saved them. Even though I've learned a lot of it, I've saved those books because I won't be able to pass that knowledge on all the time. Someone might be able to read those books and utilize them. But there were books that were going to go to a landfill if they weren't sold. And so I bought it was like a 16 book series. I'm like, this is helpful. Right? Get those types of things and diversify your knowledge as much as you possibly can. I think everybody needs to learn a few things. One, your basic first aids, how to stop the bleeding, first and foremost, right? Number two, they need to learn gardening, farming if they want to get big, right? Yes, Sydney, prepper binders with cheat sheets. I've got mine.
Scott's a big
and it's
binder
growing.
guy.
I love, and I have my travel binder and I have my binder set over here. And it's funny because they have different things in them, but my travel binder has like the most smallest, easiest digestible things like for on the go. Right. But I'm continually building my library. I think we all are. But having having access to knowledge now, utilize that knowledge now. And if you're around people, goes back to your dream team. If you have people that are doing that, that automatically hits my big things. Like, okay, I said survival head or swivel heads, knowledge, skills. If they're always seeking knowledge and skills on things that you can use, that puts them in the running, right? How to grow plants. I love, one of my favorite things is air layering plants. Taking mature plants and taking their little shoot offs and there's just a branch and turning that into a new tree. That's the fastest way to get food producing trees for the next harvest. And it is, I learned that this year, and I'm just, it has blown me away how simple it is and how easy it is to do and how I'd never heard of it until this year. And they've been doing it for hundreds of years. And the way they do it now is just so much simpler than it ever was. They used to take and build a little mechanism and then a little stand and then put a clay pot that they'd form around a branch, and it was just super hard. Now you can just trim the bark back. If you've got rooting stuff for rooting it, put the rooting solution on there, wrap it in soil. You can just take a little Ziploc bag, fill it with soil, cut a hole in it, wrap it around, Ziploc it, and then fold it inside a tin foil so it stays dark. That's all you need.
What I wish I knew was how the pyramids were built, how these megaliths were moved and just created and cut to such precision. Man, if I knew that,
Aliens.
Man, no, you're probably right. Aliens.
I don't know.
Some
harmonic frequencies.
I
think that they were less. I think that they were poured. I think we're all being lied to. I think it was poured in place, just like concrete, limestone stuff. Like,
that's interesting. Anyway, I'm just saying there's a whole lot of knowledge out there that used to be around that I would like to learn. You know, it's just true old school. That we think we're so much better now with the knowledge we have of AI and so forth. No, I'm not buying it.
We need to spend as much time with our forefathers as we can. Like my grandparents are all passed away, and yours are, and your parents passed away. But like the things they knew, man, they're so valuable. Like my dad, fantastically enough, he can fix anything. And I'm like, Dad, teach me, right? He now has a freeze dryer, and they still do canning. Mom and Dad do, and it's like those are great things. Definitely valuable assets to the team. But it's like there's so many things that you can diversify yourself on and get knowledge in and start doing. There's very few people in my group that know how to do herbal solutions like tinctures and medicines. Everybody unfortunately wants to run to the pharmaceuticals, right? As quickly as they possibly can. And I'm over here like, no. We need to learn all these other things because that will not always exist.
So you're saying we should recruit Nicole Palian onto our dream team?
100%. 100%. She is phenomenal in her understanding. We had Buna, and she could do quite a few things, and unfortunately she's passed on, but she and I will love her forever. She's just a fantastic individual. But having met Nicole Palian a number of times, and we've interviewed her in the past, like she's a joy to be around. Very positive and optimistic. She knows how to do everything you need when it comes to herbal medicines, growing them, creating tinctures, how to do compresses, how to apply different things, as well as stuff, wild edibles, and building survival tools. Like fantastic. And she basically took her binders and turned them into books, so you guys can go buy them on Amazon.
Yeah.
Fantastic. But get out of your like little brain and your little situation and your current little life, and expand and make sure you have an understanding of what your criteria is for other people, right? Like I said, swivel heads, knowledge, skills, attitude. Nicole meets the attitude. And what do they do for their profession? Is it something that is transferable skills? I love handyman. I love carpenters. I love having farmers around. Those are the kinds of people you want to have when you're having to rebuild society.
Yeah, here's a quick thought I just had is that, I like I say, I've got my brothers, and they know exactly who I am, what I do, what I love, and we're all on the same page. Are they doing what I'm doing? No, they're doing their own thing. They're preparing their own way. Are they as intense as I am? No. That's fine. I'm probably, a bit of a nut, call me whatever you want to call me. It's and I do, and I think maybe this is an experiment that y'all need to, if you haven't already, um, try and work on building your team. Go and talk to these people and be straightforward with them and see how they react. Because I think how they react is going to be a big indicator of whether you want them to be around you when it hits the fan.
And
right?
the world in its current situation is perfect for that kind of conversation.
It really is. Right now, there could not be a better time to actually bring up this conversation. And it definitely is an art form to say, hey, instead of being blunt and straightforward, go around the back door, the side door, and approach it from a different way, and feel, and test the water and see how they feel. Say, well, hey, you know what? I'd really like to be more connected with you on being prepared. I think we could come together, and if anything goes wrong, we can, me and these other people, we can make a great team, and what do you think about that? And I know that if I did that with some of my family, maybe the extended family, they would just shrug it off. They wouldn't mean anything to them, like, oh, that sounds cool, and then nothing would happen, right? So, but I agree with you, Scott. There's no better time than right now to put that group together, whatever you want to call it, your mag, your team, your family, whatever. No better time than right now. And if people don't want to be a part, then I would probably say you probably don't want them a part of your group. So, but figure it out now.
Well, like, I got this idea from Sydney. Actually, she's phenomenal at canning, food preservation, right? But she also does homesteading. There's a million other things that she's really good at. But her big thing that she teaches is canning and food storage and preserving the stuff that you normally eat, right? That's the best kind of food you want to have long term. But also, that's a skill that you can continually use over and over and over through the apocalypse and into rebuilding society. But take opportunities to have your family or your group get together to learn those types of things and be like, hey guys, I'm going to be teaching a couple people some canning on Friday at whatever time. Do you want to come over and do it too? And if they're like, yeah, and they show up, great. Right. Or like you said, talk about what's going on. We actually, in my wife's side of the family, they said, hey, we need to get a meeting together and actually talk about everybody's preparedness plan, and how we can work together. Right. Guess how many people showed up?
2
out of the 6 siblings. 2 of the siblings showed up with their kids and husbands. That's the thing. Like, and that's the reality. Those who show up are the ones that are going to show up when things go sideways, and they're going to have solutions when things go sideways. So use those times now to have those events and see who shows up and see who brings value. Or you can even say, hey, I know you know how to do these things. What are the 5 things we all need to know? Can you teach us on such and such night? We'll get together and do a family event. Kids can go play in the backyard. Can you teach us all these 5 things that we need to know? Or whatever. And that's a way to get that conversation going. But now, like, if you throw out the statement to the family, guys, I'm a little concerned with what's going on in Israel. I'm a little concerned with what's been happening in the Ukraine. I'm a little concerned with what's been happening with our economy. What are we going to do if something happens like an invasion? Because honestly, we are being invaded. Right? Everyone else is going to show up when things go sideways and expect a handout. But if you have these meetings and you can filter it out and be like, guys, look, you're not getting anything if you don't come to these things and help out and start building up too. Right?
Yeah, they'll just want to eat your canned goods, huh, Sydney? They just want to eat your good stuff you cook.
Remind them in the scenario of an apocalypse, no one's coming to my house to eat. It's a potluck. If you don't bring something, you don't eat something.
Yeah.
And that'll get them going, oh, crap, I better start doing this. The apocalypse is, from now on, I need everyone to listen to this. The apocalypse, once that hits, every meal from then on is a potluck.
Mm-hmm.
If guests are coming, they're bringing food too. We can share, we can do everything at that point. But if they're coming to just eat, sorry, no, they're thieves. they're stealing your food.
Yeah,
They're
that's
stealing
true.
your resources, things you've sacrificed for. And that's how you need to look at it. Unless God then comes to you and says, feed him and I'll make it last.
Yeah.
But you need to look at it
Yep.
from the scenario of, look, I've sacrificed for these things you haven't. I didn't sacrifice for you to be able to have a free ride. I sacrificed so that my kids can be fed. And they need to understand that you're not going to give them a handout, but they've got to bring something to the meal. And that's hard truth that everyone's got to come to grips with.
Yeah, and we use that word sacrifice, and maybe we use it, maybe I use it lightly sometimes. And, it is in the short term, yeah, you can call it a sacrifice, right? In the long term, definitely not. So if you look at it as something painful, you're not going to do it. But long term, I don't know, maybe I just have a very long term vision, and it's not a sacrifice to me. It definitely is, I would say, for the wife. Do we get to go on big expensive trips? No. Maybe that's not a sacrifice for me, but that's definitely a sacrifice for her. So,
well, and the other part of it is other people look at what you're doing as a sacrifice, and it's a sacrifice they're not willing to take.
mm-hmm.
And that's the thing. Like if they want to get involved and have these conversations and start taking personal responsibility, they're invited to the potluck. That's one of the criteria, right? They've got to be doing something to prove that they're worthy of being part of the dream team, right? And you're making your own SEAL Team 6, not your own meal Team 6. You don't want everybody coming over and saying, "Hey, where's the food?" Well, were you there in the field when we planted the seeds?
Yeah.
Were you there in the field when we harvested the fruits?
And that's a good point.
In the kitchen when we cooked it,
yeah,
and prepared it.
Exactly.
No,
exactly. The little red hen, right? Yeah, absolutely. And I bring that up to my family, on a regular basis. Hey, well, let's go. Help me bake some bread. No, I'll just help you eat it. It's not going to work like that for much longer, And Pete made a great comment here, and I totally agree. I've seen this so much lately. So many people starting. I mean, it's becoming mainstream, and with everything that's going on, I can't imagine it wouldn't be. Did I say little red hen, Mike? Is that what I said? Yeah. Okay. But
you were talking about it.
Yeah.
That's exactly what it is. Little red hen.
I was thinking, did I say it incorrectly? No, little red hen. And so,
nope.
Okay. Yeah, no, absolutely. I mean, if people aren't seeing it now, they're not going to see it. They're never going to see it, until it's too late. Yeah. And I hate using that phrase.
Time to have that conversation.
Yeah, I hate using that phrase if it's too late, because it's never too late until it's actually too late, and we just don't know.
Basically, what's happening is your time to prep used to be this big, right?
Mm-hmm.
Now it's this big. Tomorrow it'll be this big.
Maybe half that, yeah.
Or this big, or it could be this big, right? Depending on when you get into it and when you wake up. But you've got to be doing this for yourself first and foremost, and for your family, and then you got to try to encourage the people around you that you love and know and trust to be doing the same thing. And if they do, then they're invited to the potluck, right? And that we came up with that today. I'm gonna get a T-shirt made. You want to get invited to the potluck? And have it say that's all it is. And if people are like, what's the potluck? Then I can start explaining to them what that means. I don't know. Maybe not. But guys, when you're thinking about your dream team, when you're thinking about building your community, make sure that you have your basic criteria filled out of what you require, and that you live up to that first. Because you cannot ethically even request someone else to do those things if you're not doing them yourself. If you're not living up to that yourself. If you're prepping and you're just the most pessimistic crybaby person out there and you're worried about everything, you haven't found peace in it yet, you should not be trying to build a group. Yeah. You need to get your mind right and your optimism right before you start approaching other people. Otherwise, they're going to be scared to death of you.
Yeah, well, and I think part of that, one quick last comment is that, when people talk about teams, it's that you hear online or on YouTube channels, it's typically, okay, we're forming a tactical team, right? This is going to be a tactical group. We're gonna lay siege, whatever, and they're going to go out and practice guns and I think that's important. That's a very important part of it. But like I mentioned earlier, I think this has got to be for defensive purposes only, right? There's the not the theory. There's the practice that, like, if you are ambushed, you have to assault the ambush. You got to know how to do that kind of stuff, right? So that stuff is important, but it's not the most important, right? There's definitely a place for that, and maybe that's a way to bring people in because they think you're going to go out and shoot and do that kind of stuff, and I think it's important. But I think what we've talked about here is far more important than just the tactical stuff.
Absolutely. Guys, I want to thank every one of you for participating. There were some fantastic comments, some great things for us to all think about. If you are not already watching the YouTubes and you're listening to this and you're wondering what the heck we're talking about, hop over on our YouTube channel, Prepper Talk Radio. Watch it. You can read the comments below. There's a ton of information there. We also have a lot of links, resources at the bottom in the notes for all of our videos and broadcasts. Be sure to check out preppertalkradio.com for our free downloads to help you get prepped and help you get organized. Your prepping has no purpose if you don't have plans behind it. And that's where we specialize, and we want to help you get better at your plans. So go check out our plans, our downloadables, and then jump in our Facebook group and ask us questions. And make sure that you're asking us questions so that we can help you and point you in the right direction. There's so many other experts in our group as well that you can feed off of in our group and learn and grow. Keep prepping.
Yep.
Focus on the positive. Don't worry about the negative. That's why we prep, so we don't have to worry about it. Stay ready-minded, and we will catch you on the next episode. Thank you again, everybody.
See you next week.